welcome to the closing night of the 47th Mill Valley Film Festival. So great to see you all here. I'm Zoe Elton, Director of Programming, and I have to say, watching the trailer makes me feel like I am seeing snippets of my life over the last year or so go in front of my eyes. But I want to give a great shout out to the Understory, who make our trailers and do documentation for the festival. So please, thank you, Understory. And our sponsor for tonight has been sponsoring the festival and been an incredible supporter for a really long time, Jackson Square Partners. So thank you, Jackson Square. I have a feeling that Amy Adams may have the distinction of being the one person who has had a film open the Mill Valley Film Festival and now close the Mill Valley Film Festival. She was here before with, do you know? Yeah, Arrival. And we were thrilled to see NIGHTBITCH, and we think it's a great film to close the festival with. So it's my great honor to welcome to the stage Amy Adams.
Hello again.
Hello again. Welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you. Not just for coming, but for all the great work you've been doing. I mean, it's just, when I think of, Arrival was a few years ago now.
Yeah.
What a lot of interesting work you've been doing since.
Thank you.
This amongst them. I'm noticing that you are also a producer on NIGHTBITCH.
Yes.
Now, producer can mean a lot of different things.
Yeah.
In this case, what does it actually mean?
Well, my involvement with the film started right away. Rachel Yoder, who wrote the novel, Annapurna Pictures and Sue Nagel brought it to me before it was adapted into a screenplay and asked if I would be interested in helping develop the adaptation. And I was very interested. It has a very unique tone, and it was something that I was very excited to be a part of.
So you'd read the novel at that point? Or?
Yeah, the novel hadn't been released, so we had it in manuscript form. Right. And then when talking about what director I wanted to go to first to sort of do an adaptation, we were looking for a writer-director, ideally, and Mari Heller was our first choice, and thankfully she said yes and thank you. She just had a baby, so everyone was like,
she did?
Yeah, they were like, I don't know if she's going to do anything. She just had a baby, and
just
I was like
now?
Recently? Oh, no. When I sent it. Okay, sorry.
Okay, sorry. Okay.
I was...
Get my chronology right here.
Yeah,
okay.
I didn't clarify that. So,
no, it's okay.
But yeah, so that was what it was. So I talked to Mari and brought her on. So I'm going on and on, but that was just the beginning of my producerial journey on this. Yeah.
Well, and we kind of love it here because she was born and brought up in Marin County.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's wonderful.
Marielle Heller.
Yeah.
Marin County girl.
We can do better.
That's great. So you were involved with it from the very beginning.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about, this is obviously a no spoilers situation, sorry.
Yeah.
But tell us a little bit about what you related to in the story, if anything.
Yeah, there were so many aspects of the story that I related to. I mean, the first thing and the thing that seems the most obvious is that I'm a mother. And so there is a piece of that I definitely related to. But the thing that really made me feel that this had a different sort of universal appeal is this sort of idea of identity, relationship, community, and the loss of all of that. And so that was something that really pulled me in and helped me really find my way into this character, is this loss of identity.
Yeah.
And sort of how that creates transformation and the pain of transformation.
It's beautiful. When did you actually shoot it? Because I'm asking now because we're in the year after the strike, so I'm just wondering.
We shot it 2 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's been 2 years. So, almost 2 years exactly. Yeah.
I feel we've been living in this incredibly interesting time.
We really have
movies, that things may not come out immediately, or the strike, stopped production for a while, and we're
Yeah.
seeing less films this year, which actually makes it a very great year for you to be able to launch this film, I think, you know, because a lot of things got stopped last year because of the strikes.
There was a lot of releases that got stopped. One of the things that's great is I feel like this is a part of a collection of stories about taboo topics about women, whether it's our physical aging, motherhood, transformation, sexuality. I feel like we're a part of a collection, and it's really fun to be a part of that.
Well, it is, and yes, thank you. So that is a part of your intentional thought in relation to this film particularly, or also in terms of other projects that you're working on?
Oh, always. I mean,
Yeah.
I deeply relate to the characters that not only characters that I get to portray, but these ones that other actresses are bringing to the
Right.
screen,
Yeah.
dealing with issues that women are really, for some reason, it's become taboo to talk about, and yet it's so important that we connect over.
And I love that you take something that is taboo to talk about and have created a film that has whimsicality and humor and kind of everything. And I mean, almost like surrealism, perhaps? Or
Yeah,
magical realism?
think, magical realism.
Yeah.
That was really important to Mari, and Mari Heller's so good at that.
Yeah.
Her first feature that I saw was at Diary of a Teenage Girl.
Yeah.
Forgive me if
Yeah.
I misspeak. She had a wonderful way of bringing in magical realism to that in
Yeah.
sort of a visual storytelling. So she always has such a fascinating way of telling story, and I think she does it in a really fun way here.
I think you're right. And I think that you will enjoy it. I hope that you will
I
enjoy
hope
it.
you enjoy it.
Yeah. And so, yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you guys for
with
being
us,
here.
and enjoy the film.
Thank you.
What a great way to bring this festival to a conclusion. God. And we were just saying what great guests we've had this year and tonight particularly. As well as being closing night, this is also a spotlight. And our spotlight programs acknowledge people's work in a particular project, particular time in their lives, as opposed to a tribute where we're looking at, you know, a whole swath of work. So this is a spotlight program for Amy Adams and for, yeah. Oh, we're just going to keep you clapping all night. So on behalf of us, on behalf of all of us who appreciate, Amy, your commitment and your talents as an actor, and on behalf of those of us who appreciate you putting your talents behind this magical realist, ironic, doggedly feminist, and fun fable, both as an actor and as a producer. And on behalf of stay-at-home parents and all they navigate with love and sleepless nights and everything else. And then also on behalf of artists whose lives have been paused when they become mothers. Thank you for all of this. We would like to give you the Mill Valley Film Festival Award.
So well deserved. Well, Amy, thank you for being back again. Yes.
Thank you for having me.
And it's my extreme honor to present you with the Mill Valley Award for Night Bitch.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Let me get another hug. Mwah. Also, it's so much fun just to say the title, isn't it? Like just
Night Bitch?
Night
I
Bitch.
love it.
Thank you guys. It's just such a pleasure. You guys know how much I appreciate you having me here and taking the time and putting the energy and investment into Night Bitch, but into all the films that were highlighted this year and all the years in the past. And you guys really do a wonderful job at bringing a great community together to support film. And so that's really special to me, and I really appreciate this. So
Well, it's
thank you.
our honor as well.
Thank you. You guys are so sweet.
Thank you. And you can put that there, yeah. And I'd like to welcome Isabel Duffy-Pinner, who is going to be our moderator for a conversation right now.
Thank you.
No, you do. It's right here.
Do you have a preference of side? you'd like to sit on? Okay.
Have fun.
Thank you guys again.
Thank you, Zoe.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Oh, here we are. Oh,
Here we are.
it's bright.
I know it, but at least I can see everybody.
I know, that's much better.
When it's so bright you can't see people, I get very, very nervous. I don't
very
know why.
disconcerting, isn't it, when you can't
It
see,
really
you can
is.
see all.
Yeah.
So I was telling Zoe that I watched Night Bitch on the day I officially became an empty nester. I had just dropped my daughter at college. My son's already at college. And I was really struck by the film and by particularly your performance. And it really transported me back to those days and the tenderness that we have as parents of very small children, but also the abject terror and and total fucking tedium of being a parent of a very small child. I wondered if you could say some words about what drew you to the project and what about the book spoke to you.
Well, I mean, so much of what you said kind of resonated with me. And as I was doing it, and I'm going to get back to the reasons why, but I just wanted to say that as I was doing it and as I viewed it and spoke about it, I now have a 14-year-old daughter. And I said this before, but that the monotony becomes memory. And it's just so bittersweet to look back. And even when I watch the film, it's very bittersweet to think that that those days are behind me. And there's new, beautiful days ahead, but it's really, it's such a tenderness attached to that time. And I think that's part of what attracted me, is there is this duality of parenthood, of being involved in a child's life, the passage of time. And I think that the way that Rachel Yoder in the book, because the book was brought to me originally in manuscript form, it had not been published, so it was brought to me by Sue Nagel and Annapurna. And they're like, would you read this and see if this would be something you'd be interested in developing? And it just, I don't know how many of you have read the book. If you haven't, you have. So you know it's such a unique narrative, right? And it had these themes of isolation and metamorphosis and identity and using motherhood as an allegory. It just, there was something just so unique about it that I thought, and aside from like the opportunity to have fun with the metamorphosis and transformation and the feral aspect of the character, I just thought there was so much to dig into. Everything sounds like a pun with this movie. I'm like, there's a lot to dig into. That sounds like a pun. Like every time I talk about it, I'm like, there's something I really wanted to sink my teeth into. Now that's also a pun. So it's kind of fun in that way too.
And you're listed, you're a producer too.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Tell us about what does that mean in this case, because it means different things at different times.
Yeah, different things in different times. So one of the ways that I loved being an active producer is being a part of bringing the filmmaker onto it. And really those conversations with Mari, these hours-long conversation about our experiences, our heartbreaks, our regrets, our... Again, I repeat words a lot, so forgive me, but our identities, this idea of loss of self, all of these things were things, and she received the manuscript. We were all in quarantine, and she had just had a baby. She had a three-month-old and a 2-year-old, I believe.
Okay.
So this was a deeply personal experience for her, and I thought that was, she just had such a great perspective on it. Yeah.
I think that the writing is extraordinary. I mean, it really has this, I know I just double-checked with you, but your character is called Mother.
Yeah.
And father is called Father. There are no... And
Husband, I think.
Husband, sorry, yes.
Or father, probably both.
Well, no, I think it's husband.
Yeah.
I think you're right, which is even more revealing.
Well, I think it speaks to like her loss of identity and feeling like she's sort of trapped in a singular role in that moment. Yeah.
I think something I've been really interested in this year is thinking about the kind of relationship between fear and creativity, and how creativity is also so central to so many people. I wondered if you could talk a little bit about your own relation, how those two things work together for you.
It's interesting. My husband and I have conversations about this a lot because he's an artist, and he's one of those people that from the moment he wakes up until he goes to bed. He's also a director and a writer and a sculptor. He is a creator all day long. It is innate to his personality. And most of mine is really internal. Like most of the ways that I think about creation for myself is so much about interpretation and empathy and observation. So we experience it differently. And so it's really an interesting, we have interesting conversations. Because I find inspiration in silence, and he finds inspiration in being busy. So we have.
That's really interesting. So were you sort of channeling your husband in a way in bringing Mother, the importance of her creative life to life?
Yeah, no, I understood that aspect from him. But I also, my need for creativity is, I think so many people, whether they are classified as artists or identify as artists, I think creativity is innate to us. Creative thinking and the way that we just approach problem solving. There's so many ways to express creativity, and I think it's innate to our experience. But I was like, no, I was channeling me. No, I'm kidding. The artist part, yeah, but the rest of it, no.
Well, I read something by a writer who said, a very well-known woman writer who died last year, said that she was only able to love her husband and children because she was a creator who wrote, and that was her primary role in life. And there was something that helped me understand, that the film helped me understand what she had said. And also, and vice versa in a way. I think there was something so central in that.
Yeah, I'm glad. I think what I love about the film is that there are different aspects of the film that speak to so many moments in different people's lives, or so many perspectives. It's not a singular perspective, I don't feel.
Yeah. Let's talk a bit about sort of magical realism and the kind of slightly witchy elements and the amazing librarian, and tell us a bit about what those parts mean to you and how they resonate with you.
Oh, I love those parts of it. Those were parts that I think in the reading and in the imagining seemed difficult, but in the doing were really fun and very freeing, because they allow you to delve into this imaginative space inside of yourself that I think inside of me that exists anyway. Like, I've definitely thought about doing some of the things she does. Let's
say more.
I'm not going to go to specific places. There's definitely like an inner monologue that exists inside of my head at any given moment that I have to be in conversation with, and have to encourage to stay quiet or not do the thing or say the thing.
Inside head voice.
Inside head voice. Yeah. But not in a negative way. We were talking about it earlier. I'm much more silly, and I think I get kind of silly. So that's mine. Is I get quite silly. But being in conversation with self is something that feels really organic to me, and having like a deeply critical mind of self and of I think that's pretty familiar to me. So that part of the magical realism, the part of transformation with her turning into a dog, it never felt or not turning into a dog, given your perspective, it never felt out there to me, because there was something so feral about it that I really
something so feral. Yeah. Sorry.
And again, another pun. Yeah, there's something about feral. Yeah.
All right. So I know the adage goes in the acting world, never work with children or animals.
Yeah. Sorry, I feel like I have my
But we can't sit and talk about NIGHTBITCH and not talk about your smaller co-star or Stars. Were there two actors?
Yeah.
So please talk about working with him, because...
They're wonderful. Mm-hmm. They had just turned 3 years old right when we started filming. Mari did an extensive sort of casting search to find twins that were really open to play, because that was a key element, is that we wanted the whole thing to feel like play, so it never felt like we were encouraging a performance per se, but really encouraging them to play and engage. And it was such a great reminder for me to come back to my acting in a place of play and let go and be very immediate and very present. But they were so much fun to work with, you guys. They were so amazing. That scene when they're painting, I mean, I was watching that. I was like, I wanna do that. I wanna do that. But I think it was the hardest thing about working with them is trying not to laugh or trying not to react to them. I had to stay sort of in mother's space, and but they were so open, and there was a real relationship that formed between them and everybody on set, and it was a real community effort. We would have Mari down playing with them, or the props department would be offering them toys to distract them. Like in the scene in the museum, he has a tape measure. Well, he did not feel like sitting down and being a part of the scene. He did not feel like doing anything. So they gave him the tape measure, and he just did that, and that became the action. So it was everybody was on their toes, and it made it a lot of fun.
I was curious about, because they, as you say, you're coming at it from a place of play. Was there a lot of improvisation, or were you? I mean, you were saying you had to stay.
Well, they were improvised.
They were improvised, but you know, as a mother yourself, as you say, you had to sort of hold back a bit. But were there moments where you did just say, well, you know,
oh yeah,
to hell with it. We're just going to go with what comes out.
Absolutely, most of it, yeah. But there were times where definitely, you know, there would be 4 people around, you know, the camera while I was having a full conversation with myself and keeping him engaged so that he would be, you know, be able to be a part of the scene while I was still kind of communicating what the scene needed from mother. So it was a real...
It's a real dance.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It was a dance. I started bribing them with Fruit Loops, like in the grocery store scene. Yeah. I asked their parents, I asked them first if I could give them Fruit Loops, so I would put them in pockets. And then, of course, they figured out where I kept them, and then the whole scene was them digging in my pockets. And Mari's like, yeah, that feels right. That feels true. So if you watch the grocery store scene, at one point he is, the one in the opening, he's chewing on a Fruit Loop, you can see it. So he had figured out where they were and grabbed them out of my pocket.
So let's talk a little bit about transformation and all these different stages that we go through. I know I write down in my notes that, you know, we're a girl, a woman, a bride, a mother, and now I'm this, or whatever you said. It's kind of extraordinary. And, you know, a girl, a woman, a bride, a mother, an empty nester, you know, all these different phases we pass through. So I just wondered if you could speak a little bit about that, with connection to mother and how you connected to her in that sort of, you know, crucial moment.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely connected to that. And I think, again, that was one of the things that attracted me deeply to it, was an idea of just loss of self in a way. And you know, I think everyone can identify with that. It's not always attached to parenting. Sometimes it's loss. Sometimes it's, you know, watching, you know, my own child grow up. It's just transformation, and you have to figure out who you are, because you have no attachment to who you were. It feels like a stranger, like a dream, and yet you don't know where you're going. And so it's this period of floating. That's sort of how I describe it, where you feel so untethered, and it can be terrifying, you know, and trying desperately to grab onto something to help you feel like yourself again, but you don't even know who you are. You know, it's yeah, it gets a little complicated, but I think everybody knows that
everybody
space.
understands.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not.
Yeah.
It's and I think women in particular go through these, you know, several metamorphoses in our lives.
Yes, several metamorphoses.
So as you did or didn't become a dog, can you talk a little bit about that? What was it like? What was it like to see yourself afterwards, and the kind of I'm not phrasing this eloquently, but
as a dog.
What's it like to see yourself as a dog, Amy?
I liked it. They did a really good job casting that dog. She was great. Her name is Juno, and they could not find a husky. Mari was very specific. She wanted the blue eyes and the red hair, and there wasn't a husky that was trained, and so they searched shelters, and they found her. And so she was trained for the film and is now a working dog in the industry.
Wow.
Yeah. And she's just as sweet as could be. She was still sort of a puppy when she was in the film, so
But
she has now grown into quite a lovely young lady dog. So
There was something that the other thing I wrote down in my notes several times as I was watching the film was funny, not funny.
yeah, funny, not funny.
Funny, not funny. And so let's talk a little bit about comedy and not comedy.
I was surprised when I watched the film that it was funny. I was like, oh,
Really?
I wasn't. Yeah, I was really in the not funny space. You know, like
Yeah.
I think I never wanted to take her to a space of laughing at or a joke or trying to like get the timing of something. For me, it was always just very, very serious and earnest, and to kind of ground it in that magical realism that we were talking about. And I think like the real issues that she's dealing with really helped me ground the character. So the process of making the film was emotionally challenging.
Right.
And then when I watched it, I was so happy to see that it's kind of like life when you look back, sometimes the things that are can be really challenging end up being really funny. And it's like, oh yeah, it's actually, I was really happy to know that the levity, and I think we laugh at what feels familiar, and that made me really happy. Yeah. Although there's moments that I'm like, I really didn't, like I found it funny when I read it, but I wasn't kind of going after funny, if that makes sense.
I think that's the perfect way to describe
Yeah.
it, because I think that's what comes across.
It's funny
Is
because
that
it's true.
It's funny because
Yeah.
it's true. It's funny because we understand it. It's funny because
Yeah.
we've all had that kid in the supermarket trolley that, we've
Yeah. I mean, the scene, there's so many scenes with the husband, like we talk a lot about the kid and about her and about parenting, but this also is a film about relationship and family and communication. And Scoot McNairy, who plays husband, is so wonderful at towing. Isn't he great? And he's so
Yeah.
great at towing that line.
yeah.
He's not a villain. He's not an antagonist either. He's just himself, and like the lack of communication and that conversation we have after our fight where he's like, I wish you told me. And like, I think she thought she could handle it. I think she thought she could get ahead of it, and it overwhelmed her. And by the time she was being sort of swept away in her feelings and her struggles and her loss, she sort of lost herself and lost the relationship in it, but never really communicated to him
Yeah.
about that. And that was something that I really loved about the film too. But I was saying the things that were funny, and then it became unfunny. But there were so many moments with the husband that I so related to. In the shower when they're talking about the milk, I'm like, oh God, it's so good. Or like when she's having to help him bathe the child unintentionally, she thinks she's going to get a nap, and she ends up getting toast.
We all know that one.
Yeah, we all do. Yeah. But to that be said, I have a wonderful husband who's very capable. And even in that, he asks me how to work coffee machines every time there's a new one, which Maury references the coffee in here too. So there's just a lot to relate to.
It made me think of this book. I don't know if have you ever read the book Women Who Run with the Wolves?
I haven't, but no, someone else has
Did
talked
someone
about
else
this.
mention
Yes,
that too? Has anyone
yeah.
read it here? Do you remember that? Yes, Clarissa Pinkola Estes, right? Did it make you think of that? Right? Isn't it? I was really struck by that. And I wonder whether Rachel Yoder may have read it. It may have been in the background. Of
I imagine. I know this story was really personal for Rachel because she wrote this on her own experience of having children and feeling like she lost herself by sort of stepping back to be the primary caretaker.
And how, really the key, I mean, as I remember from the Women Who Run with the Wolves, the key to healing, it comes through authenticity and art. And I don't know if you have something to say about that, if through your own work, maybe not, I mean, connected to this film, but maybe through your other work and how you feel about authenticity in art.
Well, I mean, I think they're deeply related for me, but I think the key for me is our authenticity. I think anytime I step outside of my authentic self, it's damaging to me. And I think as that relates to my art, I'm always very mindful about the reasons I'm approaching any project and making sure it aligns with something really authentic or a story I want to tell or an issue I want to deal with, be it generational trauma, be it addiction. Is there something there that I can relate to? Is there somewhere that I can live authentically in the character?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that really comes across. Because I'm an empty nester, as you all know now.
Because I've got 3.5 years and they're going fast.
It's a transition. But I went back and rewatched a lot of your work and watched for the first time, and I was really struck by your choice of parts. And so, I mean, I just wondered if there was something you could pick out that was a theme that meant something across all different roles you've had. Is there something that just makes you go, yes, this is me?
I know it when I see it. I can never predict it, and I'm always a different person when I'm reading any given script. So I think I'm going to say something very revealing. But if you ever want to know what's going on with me, watch the work that I'm doing. No, I'm kidding.
Okay.
But it's like that. It's that thing of like. When I discovered acting, because I didn't, I mean, I say I came to it late, but I didn't sort of declare myself an actor. I was a dancer and I did musicals, and then I moved out to LA, and it took me a long time to really say, okay, I'm an actor. And then once, one of the things that really is kind of pulled me in is that ability to put yourself, I never put myself as in my experience, but like put myself into the roles. It was like so cathartic in a way. And like this film was a great catharsis for me. And so I think that would be the theme, is like catharsis. If that makes any sense. I've never thought about it before, but catharsis. Like,
yeah, no, I'm digesting that.
I don't know. I've never been that self-aware to find. I mean, that
I think you are.
particular type of self-aware. But yeah, I think even from Enchanted, I had left musical theater and I worked really hard to be a dancer. Always wanted to be on Broadway. I loved all that was like a culmination of my youth and all of this energy and time that I put into a craft that I was leaving behind. And so Enchanted kind of became a catharsis in a way to like pay homage to all of the people who had inspired me over the years, but also a time and place that I was going to be letting go of.
That's really...
Which I hadn't really thought of before, but now that makes me sad. No. But yeah, I knew that like
great art came from.
Yeah, but I knew that there was a time and a place that I'd be able to do Enchanted, and it was that moment. And so it was like that, just being in that space of gratitude and appreciation. But even that was a catharsis.
Yeah.
To like get to move through it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so interesting. We're almost out of time.
Okay.
So I'm going to ask you my last question, which is really on behalf of the audience. If you were to give them, I mean, I know everybody takes what they want from films, but is there something that you would hope people leave this evening thinking or feeling?
Sorry, I'm taking time.
Yeah. Take all the time.
I take all the time. I mean, I hope people who need to feel seen feel seen. But bigger than that, I hope that conversations start about the importance of community support for parents and families. I think there's a lot of need for communication and platforms for mothers and families and children that need a lot of support, understanding, attention, and sometimes it's hard to ask for help. So I think that's sort of the bigger theme, but really I hope that people who need to feel seen feel seen.
I think that's lovely. I think that's a really, really wonderful gift for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you guys so much.
Amy,
I really
thank
appreciate
you so much.
staying,
It was
too.
a joy.